Welcome back to another episode of the vlog. Today is a Monday, which means that it's training day and working on the business day. Today I'm actually staying in the house to do the work, which is super fucking annoying. I've got some deliveries for my business account setting up in Dubai coming later this evening, which is a massive weight off my shoulders, be able to actually get a business account out here. And secondly, it's a day of focused work, so at the laptop most of the day, going out tonight with a client of mine and some friends, which is going to be awesome whilst they're here in Dubai. So we're going to get that all done and dusted, but first it's training, and then later on today I'm going to show you how we get to the gym, what type of equipment we use to get there, the view that comes with living in Dubai and working in Dubai, and just the day-to-day runnings of how I go about things. And we're also going to just chat about what it's like to be a working FitPro whilst you're picking your accommodation, pick your countries. How do you survive working in so many different areas? You know, there's everything from Wi-Fi signal, co-working spaces, coffee shops, you know, what type of accommodation to get. You know, I've done it all. I've been in hostels, been in budget hotels, been in a really fancy apartments. So how do you manage that, and what are the best ways to do that? And we're going to talk about that later. But first, let's get some training in. Let's get some sunshine, and then we'll be getting on to the good stuff later on. Hi, my name's Nathan, and I am part of the Messy Bed and Crease T-shirt club. Welcome to my vlog. So now we're going to talk about how you can make a decision whether travelling is right for you, or how to pick the place, the destination, the accommodation, where to work, how to work. And I think having been to so many different places, you can literally work at everywhere and anywhere. But what you have to consider is, like, just because you can work everywhere doesn't mean that it's going to be productive and it's going to be great. You know, for half of 2019, I thought, I'm going to scrimp and scrape, I'm going to go to hostels, and it ended up being shit. It used to be horrible. You know, I'd be waking up at 6 or 7 a.m. People in the other bunk beds were waking up, getting in at 5 or 6 a.m. And that's great, like once or twice a week, and you can do that, you can go and enjoy the fun. But when that's every day, because everyone else is on holiday, everyone else is traveling like it's their last moments, they're living their best life, but you're not living your best life, you're living a travel life whilst running a business. So it's often a really difficult scenario to work through. So I kind of made this transition from hostels and budget hotels, I got bed lice or whatever it's called at least once during that first 3 months of being through like Austria, Norway, Bali, Sweden, Italy. You know, those 3 months where I went from place to place, I got like bed lice once or twice. It was unbroken sleep most nights when living in a hostel, and it was just brutal. Like, at that moment in time, I wasn't working for myself, so it wasn't my business, it was someone else's. So, you know, if I had a few drop-offs as clients, or I didn't particularly perform that well, it wasn't really on me. But over the course of the weeks and months, I upgraded and I moved away from hostels, and you know, you can do that for a short space of time, and you get quite lucky in some places. Like in Bali and in Gili, you can still live in hostels because there's a lot of remote workers whilst they go to those places. But you can also get the hostel, but also get a private bedroom. That's the key if you do want people around you, and you do want people to have that interactions with, which I'll come on to how important that is later on. But on the other side, you need that private bedroom to be able to fucking sleep, really. So having progressed from hostel to shitty hotels, all the way to kind of like, by the end of the year, I was staying in Airbnbs, I was staying in like really upmarket hotels. because I wanted to value these particular things. And coming here to Dubai and actually having a period back in the UK, it made me realize how important this environment is. Whilst it's quite messy because I like my mess, but having the amenities, having your own space is really, really important, and being able to push into spending time with people when you want to, especially if you're working. Like if I was in a hostel right now and I was working from here, you'd be constantly distracted by other people. And like for me, I'm an effective worker. Like I'm fast with what I do, and I like to think that I'm good at what I do, and I'm quite direct. But I wasn't able to do that during the first couple of months because I was always like, oh hey, how's it going? Yeah, what are you doing today? Blah, 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 blah. And that's really sociable, it's really nice, and if you're that type of person, you'll enjoy that. But then you miss 30 minutes of work, then the next person comes, and that becomes a bit of a fuckery. So when you're looking at these places, it's all right to do hostels in certain places, but make sure that you get a private bedroom when you do so, because without that, you don't get your own peace and your own quiet, and that's going to be one of the biggest essential parts. Now, how do you pick what country to go to? How do you pick where to go in the world? Because the world is literally your oyster. As an online coach, you've got your laptop, you've got your suitcase. Where do you choose and where do you go to? So first of all, how far do you want to go away? What time zone do you want to be on? Outside of that, use a site called Nomad List. Nomad List is the ratings of all people that are remote working or working like me, and we're rating different places as we go to them. Like at the moment in time, Lisbon's in Europe is supposed to be one of the best places for remote working. It's got the blend of like co-working spaces, the European vibe, cobbled streets, custard tarts, Portuguese tarts, and it's got like a blend of everything from a social perspective as well, and it's affordable. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, you've got the likes of places like San Fran, LA, New York, Sydney, which will all be quite high ticket. They're already quite expensive when you go to these places, but equally they're amazing. So you have to find a blend of what you're really after. I think the time frame is the most important thing that you have to consider. Like if you're going somewhere like America, or you're going somewhere like Thailand, Bali, Sydney, wherever you go, you've got that time of travel. Sydney or Perth is now one flight away from the UK, 22 hours or 19 hours or whatever it is, which is mental. You can get there in a day. But then when you're there, you've got the jet lag for 2 or 3 days, then you've got the settling in process, which takes over a week. And then by the time you've done 12, 14 days, if you're only going for 2 weeks, then you're already back at square one again, and you've got to do the return flight, jet lag, maneuver it, navigate that, and then back into a routine. And for a 2-week trip, you could be thrown off course for 4 weeks. So what I learned going from place to place, week on week, was that don't go from place from week to week on week. Go to somewhere for 4 to 6 weeks. There's no rush. Now, when you have your online business or your own travel, and then you're able to go anywhere you want, you'll want to see as much of the world as possible. And you get excited about going to different places. Maybe you've got Skyscanner, maybe you've got Jack's Flight Club, where you see these flights popping up and you're like, fuck yeah, Rio for 180 quid, fucking go. Then it's like, 90 quid to go to San Fran, fucking let's go. And then you almost compromise your own sanity to go and live that lavish lifestyle where there is no rush. I've been in Dubai now for, I think this time it's been 8 to 9 weeks. And then before that I was in Miami for 6 weeks with a little stopover in the UK to go to Ibiza. And then before that I was back in Dubai for another 2 months beforehand. So chunking it in that 6 to 8 week block will allow you to get in a routine, go to the gym more consistently, find out where everything is, make friends, go to your spot wherever that is, and then you can then chunk those into 4 to 8 week blocks. If you do, like worst case scenario, if you do 12 weeks in one place, you're still getting four countries or 4 cities in a year, which is still phenomenal for the fact that you could do this for 5 to 10 years and reach all of the places that you want to go to, and there's no particular rush. This whole online world is only going to get more exposure. More people are going to be doing this, so therefore they're doing it now and are not rushing through it. Means that you're playing the long game, and you're going to have that longevity with it too. When it comes to accommodation, what you want to find out is what you really thrive under. Like for me, I've always lived in shared apartments. When I was in London, when I was 21 for university, always lived shared there. When I stayed in London, lived in shared there. And then when I started traveling, that's when I started spending a lot more time on my own, which doesn't really work for me. Even though I'm in here right now on my own, I'm still learning that lesson. I'm an extrovert by nature, and I buzz off other people. So my next move, when I do finish up in this spot in December, my next move will be in January to go either travel with friends or move into an apartment in Dubai with other people, because for me that's really, really important. But you have to find out what's important to you. Is you spending more time with people in the evenings and the mornings something that you would despise, or is it something that you really, really want when you're around other people? So finding out what you like, and there's plenty of things that you can do, whether it's, especially in Dubai, you go in Dubizzle, which is the kind of rightmove.co.uk equivalent of where you can find a bedroom, you can find a apartment, you can find a flat, you can find a car, like everything is on there. It's very, very similar to all those sites where you can just go on and get a one-stop shop of things. So finding something like that, there's websites where you can go for like the hostel world. You can go to like rentmysofa.com or something like that. I don't know what it actually is, but sleep on my sofa, and you can go and see which one works best for you. And then once you do, the goal is just to try everything. The goal is to go to a place and be open-minded. And when you go to different spots, the same thing, that accommodation that you thought was going to be great, may be completely different. Like, when I went to Rio, I was with a friend, Gina, from who I stayed with in Miami. We're really, really good friends, and when she came to Rio with me, we spent 2 or 3 weeks in Rio, and we ended up just like loving it because we had our own space, us two together. I had one floor, she had the other, and then we did things on a day-to-day basis whilst we were working. So it was really useful to have that kind of camaraderie. She runs a multi-million pound business. I was running nothing because I was working for someone else, and she was working, I was working. Then when we'd be off together. So you get that type of vibe. But then equally, 4 months before, I traveled to India with another friend, and that was like, we had to stay in a hotel because there was no Airbnbs. So when we stayed at a hotel, we made sure that we had our things that are valued to us. So for me, making sure that your central location is really important. You're close to coffee shops, you're close to shopping, you're close to like the metros to get to different places, you're close to a gym. And then on top of that, maybe if I was learning from things now, maybe it would be making sure that my place has a swimming pool because I love swimming, or near a swimming bath where you could go to. So each time you go, you build up this criteria of things that you really want. But when you haven't been exposed to this type of lifestyle before, you won't know what you fucking love, because you've probably been quite restricted in what you can choose, or what your perception is, because you probably live in a small town, or you live in London, so then you live in a certain area that's got specific things, and if you want to go to the specific things, you have to go and tube to work, or go to Canary Wharf, or go to central London, or you have to go to Stratford, or you have to go into Liverpool from the outskirts. When you have the choice of being anywhere, it's called the postcode lottery. I termed it the postcode lottery. It's where once that postcode is not important anymore, like, think of your parents, think of my parents. They live in a specific subset of Cheshire because they A, lived there for all of their lives, but B, when they got jobs, they didn't want to be too far away from commuting to that place. So ultimately, they had this vicinity or this radius that they had to stay in to be efficient for work, to be able to have enough blending of time, whereas you don't need to do that. And what I learned was that my postcode didn't fucking matter. And what I needed to do was find the things that I really enjoyed, as opposed to the things that I was conditioned to enjoy. If you enjoy going to like the Weatherspoons on a Friday night, or you go to the local takeaway, or you like walks by the beach, or you like canal walks, or you like grass versus sand, or you like heat versus winter or cold, you can start negotiating where you go based on your likes and dislikes. And I think what you'll do, and most people do this, is that they go for a hot country straight away because they've probably been in the UK, it's pissing down with rain, it's cold all the time, it's windy, so they pick a really hot place, and then they go, like they do on holidays. You go to Turkey, you go to Marmaris, you go to Spain, you go to wherever you go on holiday, and then you realise, fuck, actually spending more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks in a really hot place probably doesn't hit me as well as I thought it would do. There's a difference between holidays and travelling. So when you are looking at places, you've got to try all different facets. You've got to try the Airbnbs, you've got to try the hotels, you've got to try the hostels if you really want to go down that route and save some money, because you can be cost effective. And then once you try all of these things, you'll know what you like and what you dislike, and it's okay to go to a place and have a shit time, or have one shit element. Like Seville for me, the hotel had someone shagging next door all night for like 5 days. I had bed bugs in that bed bug. Seville was a lovely place, but the hotel was shite. going to somewhere like Bilbao. Bilbao was not a great city, hotel was fantastic, so therefore I'd never go back there again. So there's always these things that you mix and match and move forwards and backwards to be able to find what you really wanted. And that really summarized for me when I took my mum to Sydney and Australia. We did like 3 weeks, and by that time I'd done a year's worth of traveling, so I kind of knew what I liked. So we stayed central in Melbourne, we stayed in the financial district in Sydney, we stayed in nice Airbnbs with gyms at the bottom of it and next to coffee shops, and that was kind of my vibe, that's my spot. And then at the weekends I'll go to the beach, because I'm not a beach person during the week. I tried to be when I lived in Dubai 2017, and when I tried doing all that traveling in 2019, the beach for me was like, I'd go, but I'd be worried about doing so much work and I'd be tired after going to the beach, I'd be sweating my piece off, and it would end up being to a point where you were being super ineffective because you're trying to have this lifestyle where you can go to the beach for 2 hours in the morning. But for me, it just made me super tired. So for me, it's a city kind of vibe: Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Get your work done, and then Saturday, Sunday you can go and chill out and do what you need to do in terms of relaxation. And that kind of surmised into that. As well as that, I moved from there to Barcelona. And when I moved to Barcelona, it was me on my own, and I decided that I would get all the things that I thought I needed. So it's the first time that I'd spent over my budget. I'd gone to co-working spaces, which I'll talk about in a minute. I went to, I got a rooftop penthouse in the middle of La Rambla, and I went all out. And at that moment I realised that these are the things I fucking love. Not spending out my arse, but I love the rooftop, to sit out in the morning and have a coffee. I love the fresh air in Barcelona. The city is fantastic. You know, it's got that kind of, you wear a coat in the morning because it's quite cold, but it's sunshine, and then by the time you're in your afternoons, you're not wearing your coat at all, you're wearing your t-shirt underneath, and that for me, that's a really perfect way. The gyms are really cool, they're accessible, 20 minutes, 15-minute walks away from the Rambla. And then the co-working space where I met people, because I knew that I was on my own in the Airbnb, so I met people whilst I was in the co-working space. My Spanish is terrible, so it didn't last very long, but at least I was around people on a day-to-day basis. And when I had all these things in blocks, and knowing what, like, ticking my boxes, infinitely my mental health, my business, all of the things that I was driving towards got better, and the fluidity of it made it so much easier. And it just reminded me how much in 2019 that was such a struggle, because I didn't have these particular things. So when you are looking at these places, it's all trial and error. It's a new way of living, and no one gets it right first time. I would definitely recommend, if you are looking at working and you are traveling solo, co-working spaces or working from the same spot most days is absolutely essential. If you're a solo traveler like I have for most of the year, you won't realize how much time you do spend alone. And unless you're super social, you know people in the city, you're going to spend a lot of time on your own. And sometimes if you only spend there 4 to 6 weeks, you might not actually get enough time to go out and, you know, get on Tinder or Hinge or go to different events and meet people, or go, you know, I'm not a person that would talk to anybody in a nightclub or go to a bar and speak to people unless I'm completely shit-faced, which I don't really like doing. And doing those things, it became incredibly difficult for me to actually have normal conversation with people on a day-to-day basis, which then affected my mood, my mindset, you know, being in my head all of the time, which wasn't particularly useful. And then on top of that, when you go to these co-working spaces, you're just around other people. You go the same thing every single day, you say hi, you stick into a routine, you're consistent, and then over time you get to meet people, make friends, and people are in the same spot as you. So having like a co-working space or a coffee shop that you go to daily that's reliable for Wi-Fi and just general nice humans in there will be really essential. And that's what I took away from that Barcelona trip, was that the accommodation can be absolutely fantastic, the place and country can be amazing, but people and having friendships or communication or being around others is equally as important as well, because you can do the whole solo travel lifestyle and people, you know, have those visions of going to Bali, being in a hostel, meeting loads of people, going out on the bintangs and having that, but there's also that kind of compromise that you have to make for running a business or working 30-40 hours whilst everyone else is going scuba diving, paddleboarding, not doing anything because they're hungover. So you have to find that mid-ground and blend, and I found that, you know, going to a co-working space, and now I do it here in Dubai. I've got, you know, I got a coffee shop that I go to regularly. I know the boys behind the coffee, you know, spud them as I go in every single day. We have conversations every day. You know, I invite my friends to come over there, and, you know, it becomes that spot that you are enjoying on a day-to-day basis, that gives you that talking, that kind of bullshit conversations that actually mean quite a lot when you're spending a lot of time on your own. So hopefully that's some considerations. My top 5 recommendations will be, if you're looking at Europe, you can't go wrong with Barcelona. You can't go wrong with somewhere like Marbella. You can't go wrong with Lisbon. You can't go wrong with going to somewhere like the Amalfi Coast. Like, all will provide completely different things. Barcelona city, built up, got the beach on one side, got the city on the other, be in the Gothic quarters, can be like quite modern, and have all of the different varieties. In Lisbon, you can have the old cobble streets, the little quirky coffee shops, the co-working spaces, the cheaper living. And then you go to somewhere like the Amalfi Coast or Sorrento, and it's mountains, it's greenery, it's grass, it's ocean, it's fresh, it's small little places that you duck in and dive in, and that they all give you different things depending on what you like. Outside of Europe, one of the best places that I found for me was Rio. Amazing city. I don't know if you can go there now because of COVID. I probably wouldn't recommend it. But outside of the security issues of going out in the night time or when it's dark, I stayed away from that, and I was able to kind of enjoy Copacabana Beach in the morning. Lovely sunset, sunrise, lots and lots of things to do, but like equally coffee shops and work mode is definitely on there. You're not going to go far wrong with Thailand, Bali, any of those places that other remote workers are going, because you have a higher probability of actually seeing other people that are doing very similar things to you and then bonding on that too. So, if you do those areas and then you expand out from there, you're never going to go far too wrong. I mean, Dubai is now the hotspot for influencers and people kind of living their best life tax-free. So, I mean, if I was you, I'd be putting my business out in Dubai if you're going to plan on doing some traveling, and then just go from Dubai as a kind of a base, which is really, really good. And then on the last topic is, looking at budgeting whilst you're away. Now, a lot of people come to Dubai and they think that it's super, super, super expensive, but they just get wrapped up in the lifestyle. It's not particularly that expensive when you choose it not to be. So what I mean by that is that there's more frequency of people going out for brunches and dinners and lunches because people are really sociable over here. But if you were back in the UK, you wouldn't be going out 3 to 4 times a night, 3 to 4 times a week on a night, going for drinks or going for dinner. You'd probably go once or twice. So you get lost in the lifestyle a little bit because there's so much to see, there's so much to do, there's so many offers that you have to kind of rein it in a little bit to just say, well, I wouldn't do this in the UK, so why am I doing it in Dubai? I've got to live a normal life. And outside of that, taxis are way cheaper than in the UK, so you can go anywhere you want to. But food is one of those things where it's actually quite cheaper if you're getting a normal lunch or a normal dinner to eat out than it is to eat supermarket foods. So you just have to know the land a little bit. Clothing's a little bit more expensive, but and apartments and stuff, a lot of people are super expensive to live in Dubai. The apartments are really expensive. And whilst that's true for the central parts, there's so many different ways that you can do Dubai that I don't necessarily think it is expensive. I think it's the way you choose to live your lifestyle. Like this apartment that I'm in right now, I got a super good deal on it, and I locked out for 6 months when I came in July to this place. I agreed for 6 months up top, and they give me it for like £1,800 a month, which might sound a lot for some people, and it relatively is, but when you consider that downstairs has a swimming pool, downstairs has a gym if you want to use it, you can knock off a couple of £100 for the kind of facilities that you have. And outside of that, it's central location, so you don't have to have a taxi to go to anywhere else. And then by the time you look at how much you'd be spending if you were living in the sticks somewhere and commuting into these places, you're probably looking at it being quite reasonable. But outside of that, if you don't have that budget, it doesn't mean you can't afford to come here, because there's so many different places. There's like shared apartments, there is the outsides of Dubai, which is easy to get into. So there's, I've got friends here living an accommodation for £800 or £750, and they live in just different towers than I do, that don't have apartment pools and don't have gyms, and they're not quite central. But it's what you really want from your apartment and the way that you want to live. Like, I know I don't go out 3 to 4 times a week, so my expenses on social events will be less. So I spend a lot of time in here, and want it to be nice, and want it to be relaxing, and I want to have a pool downstairs to be able to swim with, because it's really important for me to do so. So, I spend my money where I really want it. So, if you are the person that goes out 3 to 5 times a week, then probably you're not going to be able to afford having a really lavish apartment. But that's ultimately your priorities, right? You got to save your money for wherever you want it to. So I don't personally think it's super expensive here. I think it's how you choose to spend your money, and it'll be the same in any other country. Like especially even if you look at Bali or Thailand, like you can go and get a really high-end apartment for £1,000 to £1,200 a month, which will be a swimming pool. It'll be like a 4-bedroom villa, which is amazing. But you can equally get something for £400 that'll be less, and then you can equally go to expensive restaurants, or you can specifically eat like the local food, the nasi goreng, and all of those things that'll be just like street food for a couple of dollars. So it's how you eat and how you choose your environment and the budgeting that you're willing to say yes or no for that ultimately dictate how financially savvy that you are. And there's been places where I've spent thousands of pounds on going out and having niceties. I think one of my biggest expenses was staying in India. When we stayed in India, which you could argue and say there's Sheraton hotels, there's Hiltons and whatnot, but we stayed at the Taj. So you can, and the Taj Mahal Palace, and if you've ever seen the film of where they had the terrorist attack, that's the exact place. And I only watched that afterwards, and it was a bit of a fuckery. But when you look at that place, it's £500, £600 a night. And it was beautiful. It was the best experience that we had. But you wouldn't say that India was expensive. You'd say it was more cheap. But it's how you do it. We spent fucking £1,000 in the Playboy Mansion nightclub one night because me and Kunal were out and drinking bottles. And you can spend it wherever, really, and you can also save it wherever as well. So I think it's just when you get wrapped up in that lifestyle as well. So hopefully that was useful. We are now going to go and we're showered up. We're going to go and have a protein shake. We're going to go and get some work. We've got some big things coming. It's more on the business stuff today, so I'm going to be creating some lectures and creating some stuff for the guys at the OTE. We're going to be looking at designing some new programs for some clients and looking at how to get some Facebook ads off the ground, which is interesting. And then after that, we're going out for dinner, or we're going out for drinks with those friends that I've got coming over here, and that's going to be wicked. So I'll vlog that, and then we'll catch up later. Have a nice day. So here we are, we're ready to go out. Nice little black number on with my pants on, which is nice. I'll show you in the mirror in a minute. But when I go out on a weekday, it isn't going to be a drinking night for me. I've had too many of those last week, but also I just make a rule of when I'm working, try and stay away from alcohol. It impairs my recovery so much. My sleep just goes down the toilet completely, and I can't focus on anything that I'm doing the day after. Tomorrow for me is a big check-in day, so that means I'm on the phone, audio messaging, Loom videos all of the time, which is quite hard when it comes to then having to focus or be like hungover. So I'll be inclusive of the vapes or the shisha or the Diet Cokes or whatever, and just go in there to meet my clients and my friends, but I won't be partaking in the alcohol as much as it would be nice to get boozy, have a strawberry daiquiri or two, but to me that's not it. So when I go to these events, I have that rule of like Monday to Friday, or for me in Dubai it's Sunday to Thursday. If it's a weekday, I do what I normally do on a weekday. If it's a weekend, then I may have one because I can sleep in the next day and have those things, but it's just super essential to keep your head when you're trying to be as effective as possible, try to be efficient as possible. Too many nights on a bounce of boozing will just end up you being unproductive. It's an antidepressant, so if you're staying on your own, then you're going to be anxious and depressive as well, potentially, and I don't want to run the risk of that. So for me, it's a no-go. So we're about to go and enjoy ourselves. This has been the second vlog. Like and subscribe if you like it. I'm just going to take you with me as we go to the Atlantis in Dubai, go for a nice little drink with the guys, and subscribe and like, and then chat to you soon.